Another week, another Baron Banter here from the exclusive, improved. I'm sitting in a folding chair. Brandon now has a nice little couch to sit on.
It's so
exclusive
comfy.
studios in our basement here in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. Welcome back to week 3 of Baron Banter. Just two of us today. Our third PIC is recovering from back surgery. So, Chris,
we wish
you well. We hope you're feeling a little bit better today. Hope to have you on a couple more in the near future once you're able to walk again, because I would assume that he probably is pretty much crawling around his house right now.
I would assume.
Well, Tyler Zulli and Brandon Zulli here today. You know, we've only done 2 episodes, and we've already had multiple people say, "Hey, man, that was really cool. Can I be on an episode?" And I like that. I like the fact that we're starting to get some people that are interested in this podcast idea. You know, we just kind of came up with this thing, out of the blue, and we're only 3 episodes in now, this being the 3rd episode, and people are interested.
Indeed.
People are interested. Now,
however, there is the flip side of that spectrum where we've only been doing this for 3 episodes, and the subjects we have to talk about today usually aren't used for people this early on in their shows.
Well, I think this is the heavy hitter episode for us if we had one. Obviously we went political in the first segment of the last 2 shows. However, we didn't really have any...
We mostly focused on Donald Trump.
Deep top. Right. It was a lot of Donald Trump talk. It was a lot of what ifs and why is he doing this, that, and the other thing. But today we had the Manchester bombing, but it was a smaller event than what we have today. And yesterday, as you probably know by now, well, it'll be Wednesday, so it'll be 2 days by the time this gets posted. But on Wednesday morning at 8:22, a truck carrying a truck full of bombs exploded in Kabul near the presidential palace and foreign embassies. 80 to 100 confirmed dead, over 400 confirmed injured, including 11 U.S. citizens. This is being called one of the deadliest strikes in what is now a very long Afghan war. Brandon, let's open the floor up and let's get your early take on this.
I just don't understand, my honest biggest question is who is their target? Because they have 3 big targets there. They have the civilian population, because they planted the truck in a heavily crowded area of, I believe it was downtown, right near a TV station and shops. They have the German embassy, which is right near where the bomb went off, and they have the palace. That's my biggest question, honestly.
Who were they going after?
Who were they going for? Were they going for civilians, the Germans, or the palace?
Well, at any rate, it doesn't matter who they were going after. They caused a lot of damage.
Of course.
But you're right. I think the question becomes, did they hit their target? Was it the people? Or did they not get to their target and it was the German embassy or the president?
Another thing is finding out who their target is could help find out who did it.
Well, and here's the thing. The I guess the Afghan government is saying that it was, I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to go based on how I would assume it's pronounced. It was Haqqani who are responsible for the attacks. Now, the Taliban has not come out and said that they are responsible for the attacks, but
but this group is a subsection
of the Taliban, and they're not saying they did it. The Afghan government is saying that they did it. So it was, we don't quite have all the details on who it was yet, but we do know that our thoughts go out to those who have died, those who are injured, those who are still missing in this attack. But I think we have a couple of questions based on this attack here, and I want to get your take, Brandon. I know you have done a bit of research on this. You have a couple of comments from a couple of videos that you've found on YouTube that are just abysmal. We'll get to them in a little bit. But the first question that I want to ask you, Brandon, do you think that this is a coincidence that the bombing happened just days after the U.S. said they were considering sending upwards of 5,000 troops to try to slow, or this is quote, try to slow or reverse government losses to the Taliban insurgency over the last calendar year?
I can't see it as a coincidence. It would be the biggest coincidence of the millennia.
So you think that this was a planned attack based on that?
I think it had a partial reasoning to it, yes.
So you're looking at it and you say, okay, the United States said they might send troops. They might send a lot of troops. With 5,000 is a lot of troops.
Yeah.
So they might send a lot of troops. We're going to get another attack in and preemptively beat them to the punch.
I would have to say yes.
That's, I don't know. Again, we say this every week. I don't know what's going on in their minds. But
I don't think anyone does.
I don't think anybody does. But, when you preemptively and premeditatively make an attack like this, you're asking for trouble. You're asking for problems. And I know that just like ISIS, the Taliban aren't a country. They're more of a state of mind, basically. Obviously, they're an organized group, but, you can't attack an idea.
No. You have to attack a group.
When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, you can go after Japan. You knew it was Japan. They took credit for it.
Yeah.
You can go after Japan. When the Taliban or when ISIS does something like this, you're attacking ideals. And that's hard to pick out.
Yeah.
So, not a coincidence, Brandon says. I agree with you. I don't think it is either. I think it's, But
here's the thing. Now that this bombing has happened, do you think it's more likely that troops are going to go in or less likely?
Well, that's a great question, and I think you can look at both sides of the coin. You look at the more likely because they want to prevent something like this happening again. You don't want another attack that's going to kill almost 100 people, especially, for the most part, innocent people, and, wound and injure another 400, 500 people. And I know those numbers are going to go up.
Oh, yeah.
They haven't found everybody yet. They haven't gotten...
Been a day.
It's been a day. It's been, 26 hours. Those numbers are going to go up. But on the flip side, you say, maybe you don't want to send that many troops in now because something like this is going to happen again. And
lose more American lives.
Here's the thing. It's very, very tough to say an American life is more important than an Afghani life. Because everybody is a person, right?
Yes.
However, from a standpoint of an average American,
from a political point of
view, from an average American's point of view, from whatever point of view you're looking at it in the United States, where we're at in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, where they're at in Washington, D.C., and pretty much everywhere throughout the country, many people are going to say, yes, you want those innocent people to be protected, but at the same time, if it came down to an Afghan life or an American life,
especially an American soldier's life,
a lot of Americans, if not almost all Americans, are going to say, don't send the troop.
Now, is that a good thing or bad thing?
I think it's a good thing on the surface because you're looking at it and you're saying, that's my brother, that's my sister, that's my uncle, my nephew, my son, my, whatever.
But think of it like this. That person that they could have protected was someone's brother or sister or nephew or uncle.
But they're 3,000 miles away.
True. But it
puts a personal spin on an American life. I can look at you and there is a physical you sitting 2 feet from me. And if you were to say to me, you have an option. You can save me, Brandon, or you can save this Afghan child 3,000 miles away. There's no hesitation in my mind. I'm saving you. And that's what every American looks at and says, well, this is my idea too. And that's why I think they're going to lean towards not sending them.
I think you're right.
Would you flip, or let's put that flip on you. If I say, you can save me, or you can save this Afghan woman.
There's no hesitation, like you said, but still, you're going to feel guilty about those you can't save.
Right, you are correct. However, I think that's how you justify it, is you say, there's a physical body right next to me, and it's one that means a lot to me. So that's what I think you're looking at it's a catch-22, and it's a tough one to think about. Let's move on from that question. In a televised address that was done yesterday, the President Ghani, came out with a resolute message. This is, quote, calling for unity in the face of attackers who he said were receiving help from outside intelligence forces. And basically what they mean by that's frequent shorthand here for Pakistan's military intelligence agency and other agencies, things like that, that have had ties with Haqqani. Like we said, they've blamed They blamed Haqqani for the attacks. My question to you, Brandon, is, and we've never really faced this. We had the 9/11 attacks, with the World Trade Centers and the Pentagon and the field out in central Pennsylvania. And before that, the last real terroristic attack on a major scale, and we're not talking Columbine or anything like that, or even Oklahoma City, where it was what?
Foreign.
Yeah, foreign attacks, exactly. Not an American-based attack. You're looking at foreign attacks. You could say Oklahoma City, but you might go all the way back to Pearl Harbor as a major foreign attack. But other than that, the United States soil really hasn't been breached.
No.
The Afghan soil has been constantly attacked by, outside sources and Taliban, ISIS sources. How do you continue to hold morale and, quote that unity in the face of frequent attacks? How do you do that?
Honestly, I can't see how it would be possible. I mean, after a while, it honestly, it's getting to me here. It's just
again 3,000 miles away.
3,000 miles away. I don't know how people over there stay as strong as they do. It's incredible, in all honesty.
There has to be some kind of bigger picture. It's country over eye, because when you look back at World War II, and you had the bombings of London every single night, and people were living in subway systems and in train tunnels because it was the only safe place to be. But I think you go back to that and they say, well, if we hold out and we can defeat the Axis powers and the Nazi Party, it'll make for a better world. Yeah. I have to think that's the only thing running through these people's minds is, if we can hold strong and the Taliban can be eliminated and ISIS can be eliminated, it'll make for a better world for us.
It's almost as if they have an unbreakable amount of hope. It's amazing, honestly.
Let me ask you this. In the current state that we are in as Americans, and we are some of the luckiest people in the world, we bitch about, having to pay for health care or having to pay for school. But at the end of the day, we are the luckiest people in the world to live in this country. Because there are a lot of countries that don't have it even close to what we have. As Americans, if something like this were to happen on American soil, I don't know if the resolute of the country would be strong.
No.
Like it is in...
It would be absolutely... It would be destroyed. I don't think anyone would be able to say, oh, it's country over. No, people would be hiding. They would get bomb shelters. They would go in their basements and live there for years. We would lower our tails, hide in the basement, and cover our eyes and try and make it go away. But these people, over 3,000 miles from here,
right,
are standing out in the open because there were, I don't know how many, but there was a group of people at a security checkpoint singing and chanting anti-ISIS and anti-Taliban just out in the open, right near this attack. And I think that's amazing because they just have no fear. They have no fear of being attacked again. They just say, we're going to live strong. You won't be able to break us no matter what.
Right. It's a bigger picture than what I think we can comprehend because of, like I said, the things we take for granted in this country.
Of course.
Let's move on. I have two more questions for you, and you kind of brought up the second question, so I'll kind of let you take that one over a little bit. But the first question for me is, we mentioned where the attack was, and it happened near the presidential palace and with all these people, but it happened near the German embassy too. Right now, in Afghanistan, Germany has about 1,000 troops stationed there.
Mm-hmm. Almost as much as the U.S., I believe.
At this point, yes, you are correct. And we mentioned the United States considering bringing up to almost 5,000 troops in. Germany has about 1,000. Do they add more? Does this become a military standoff?
I don't know if it will, but there is the possibility of it happening. I don't even know, man. There's just so much going on in the situation. It's hard to wrap your head around it. To the fact where I believe more Germans had lost their lives than Americans. I'm not sure if that's right. I may have to check myself on that. But they have more of a reason to retaliate if that is true.
So the German retaliation is more likely than the United States sending troops.
I believe so. I believe it's more likely for them to bring in more troops than us.
Because they almost feel it's now a personal attack.
Yes. Because remember, it was closer to the German embassy than the palace than it was to the palace.
Right.
And it was American lives lost, but it wasn't like it was attack on Americans.
Right. It wasn't a direct attack. It wasn't Pearl Harbor.
No.
So, I mean, you're really looking at this and you're saying, what combination of the United States and Germany? Because I don't think it's going to be a full frontal attack from both of them.
No.
But what combination of the two come into play here? You know, how many troops does the United States actually send, or are they just balking? How many troops does Germany send, or are they just going to beat their chest? You know, so you really have to sit there and think about it. Are they going to send any? Are they going to send some? Are they going to send all?
Like we said, just because of the attack, they may not send troops because they don't want to lose their soldiers' lives.
Right.
Or they may send more troops because if they combine their forces, there's less likely of a chance for this to happen again.
Right. How are we looking on time here?
We're doing fairly well.
Doing okay? We're not on a 25-minute segment like we did last week?
About 16.
All right, we're doing okay. So
I would like to bring up these comments.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about those comments. You know what? So we'll hold off on this question for right now. Let's do these comments first because I think they're very, very important. Go ahead.
This was a question I posed. Now I want to make this very clear. We do not condone or approve any of these comments. These were found on YouTube on the video of CNN, I believe's video on the report on the bombing.
So anything that Brandon's going to read to you is word for word what certain people said. Now
we'll ask you this: should I say their name?
That's what I was just about to get at. I think for protection's sake, and I don't know how many people this is going to reach, but just in case, why don't you just hold off on their names? Yeah, hold off on their names, and you could just read a couple of them. Now, like Brandon said, preface this by saying we don't condone any of these comments. These are
awful.
Some of them are bad, some of them are awful, and some of them are just so despicably racist and awful to say. You know, you're trying to make a joke, but it's kind of like that standing. How soon is too soon to make a joke? And 17 minutes after it happened is too damn soon. So, Brandon, why don't you go ahead and read a couple of these?
These comments made me lose hope for humanity. The first one I came across was 100 or 400 or whatever they are, all Muslims. Laugh my ass off, who the fuck cares? Good work. Terrorists killing terrorists. I think this guy is saying I'm a director, and I still remember Ariana's Manchester concert. I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Well, I think they're trying to compare the bombings.
No, what this has to do with anything. Still pray for Manchester and fuck you Muslims. That was the first comment on the video.
So, basically what this person is getting at is, to what it sounds to me, is Manchester happened and white people died. Pray for them. Kabul happened and Muslims died. They should burn in hell.
Yeah.
That's basically what this guy is trying to get at.
That brings up another question I wish to talk about in a little bit. The second one I read was the guy trying to make a joke. And like you said, 17 minutes after this happens is far too soon. Because this man's comment was tactical nuke incoming, which is horrible. And if you don't know what that is, it's a reference to a Call of Duty perk where you kill all the enemies and you win the match. How can you make a joke like that when 100 people are dead and 400 are wounded?
It goes back to the how soon is too soon. 17 minutes is way too soon.
Like we talked about in our first episode.
Yeah.
I have a dark sense of humor. I will joke about anything. Except this. This is something I don't joke about. When people lose their lives tragically. Now, the third comment I found was horrible. It just gets worse and worse. Which was someone saying, hashtag not all Muslims. JK, Islam is a violent ideology. Some Muslims are peaceful, but hashtag not all Muslims are peaceful.
All right, listen up. Listen, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant here. Listen up, Mister whatever your hashtag is on YouTube, because I can't read it that far. Hashtag get your head on straight, because hashtag not all everybody is peaceful, but hashtag not all everybody is violent. Because guess what? At the end of the day, I don't care if you're Muslim or Christian or you believe in Norse mythology or Greek mythology or you worship trees or you like to worship video games. I don't give a shit. Every religion has their agenda and has their peaceful agenda because that's what religion is. It's peaceful worship. Now, of course, there are going to be extremists in all religions. There are extremist Muslims. There are extremist Christians because guess what? The guy that killed a bunch of African Americans down in, was it Mississippi, I think it was? Or
yes,
down in Mississippi, he was a radical Christian. It happens in every religion. So I don't want to hear JK whatever you just said because you, sir, are a scumbag.
I have another point to bring up after this last comment.
Go ahead.
Now, this last comment is, I'm going to be using a racial slur. I don't condone using this, but I'm going to be reading this word for word.
Is it one that's repeatable? Okay, yeah,
That.
go ahead. You know what? When it gets to this part, why don't you just quote it? Why don't you just say quote, and this is what he says, just so people understand.
Okay. Is this supposed to be shocking or surprising in any way? Are we forgetting how large and how often, quote-unquote, ragheads are displaying their satanic religion? Muslims themselves say in their book, the Quran, to kill the infidels, non-Muslims, and a bunch of other shit. This is the way it will continue to be until we wipe this shit from the face of the earth. Where do you think these people get their ideas from? Their local neighbor or some random book? No, they get it directly from the prime source of their religion, which is fucking horseshit. No one's religion is fucking inherently terrorism. It's fucking bullshit, you idiot. I'm gonna get angry soon.
Well, and here's the deal. You know, you talk about how they have the quote-unquote kill the infidels, blah, blah, blah. Most books and religions that talk about, you know, war against those who are non-believers or disagree with your religion. Like, here's the deal. Let's look at the Old Testament verses on violence. You know, there are so many excerpts from the Bible that basically say the same thing. They're all open-ended. They're not meant to say, oh, Brandon, you practice Muslim, I practice Christianity, I'm going to stab you in the throat. That's not what they're meant to say. And people have taken that literal for hundreds of years.
I think that's the biggest problem. I like the Bible. In all honesty, I do. Because it has some good teachings for us. Be kind to your neighbor. Give to those in need. Don't kill. Great lessons. But the problem is it's all open-ended to where you can interpret it into either I can go and donate food cans to the homeless, or I can go out and kill all these people because they don't think the way I do. And that's not good.
Well, and here's a couple of quotes from the Quran. 476. Those who believe fight in the cause of Allah. I don't know about you, but to me, that's one of the most open-ended quotes you can get. Because if you think about it, you sit there and say, those who believe fight in the cause of Allah. That doesn't mean go and shoot somebody in the head. That means go out and
preach the word. God.
Because here's the deal. If you come up to me and you're a practicing Muslim and you say, I'd like to speak to you about Allah. I hope that because I'm going to have enough respect for you to let you say, here's my thing and here's why I believe that God or Allah or whatever is great, and here's why I follow him. If you respect the fact that I'm going to say, I respect your beliefs, but here's my thinking. It doesn't matter if I believe in God, I believe in Allah, I don't believe in anything at all. Because at the end of the day, if you have your beliefs and you stick to them and you're not going to kill me because I don't believe the same thing, we're cool.
I don't know what to think anymore, man.
Here's another one.
I'm getting angry.
4104. And be not weak-hearted in pursuit of the enemy. If you suffer pain, then surely they too suffer pain as you suffer pain. Basically, it's saying that what I'm getting out of that, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, if I were to hurt you and you're in pain, I would feel bad because I hurt you. Not that you're going to go retaliate and kill somebody. That's at least how I'm taking it.
I think you're right on that.
So it doesn't... I don't care that this was a Muslim on Muslim attack.
I don't think that has anything
I don't
to do
think it
with
has anything to do with it.
100 people are now
There
dead.
are people that are dead.
There are 400 that are injured. And what does it matter who got attacked, where they got attacked, and by who? All we got to know is that they were attacked, and there has to be something done about it. Now, I got this last comment, and this one made me turn off my computer and just lose all hope. Muslims are a disease that needs to be purged from the earth. That is a quote I found on the same video as every single one of these. These were all found on the video. These weren't found. I wasn't going around looking for racist, bigot, idiot ideas on bombing. No, I found these on the video.
On a CNN
from
video.
CNN, I think, about a report on what happened. This isn't going into the deep, dark web. This is right up front on a news report. And that is going to lead me into my next question. Why is it whenever there's a tragedy or a terrorist attack, why do you think that gives people the green light to just speak whatever bigot, racist nonsense they want? Why is that okay? Why do they think that's right?
Because I think they know that they have internet muscles. It's just like when you drink too much and you get beer muscles. It's a front. It's a fake front. And it's, you're talking about people that are sitting on the internet. I don't know where this guy or gal came from. I can't read their names from all the way over there. But I don't know where this guy or gal came from. But when they sit behind their computer in the comfort of their home, they know two things. One, nobody's going to come and fight them on it. And two, they're going to have other people that are sitting behind their computer in their homes saying, yeah, man, you're so right. This is a problem and they all need to be exterminated, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you're going to sit there and you're going to put your internet muscles on because nobody's going to confront you on it. At least in real life. You might get people that say, you're wrong and you need to stop speaking like this. But at the end of the day, nobody's going to come knocking on your door and saying, yo, man, I heard what you said. Let's fight. And that's why they do it.
In all honesty, I have nothing more to say on this.
Well, let's finish with this quick question. It's a little more lighthearted, but it's on the topic. A lot of times you have these kind of attacks happen, and most people in the world send sympathy. We saw that hundreds of people are lining up to give blood in Afghanistan, which is great. Why, when you see an attack like this, and you pose this question to me, so I'll repose it to you in this forum. Why, when you see an attack like this, it's horrible, but then you have something, a comedy show like a Family Guy or a South Park. Why are they allowed to joke about these things? And I have my opinion, but I'd like to get your take.
Well, honestly, what you said I think is right, because no one honestly gets hurt in a cartoon sketch.
Right.
And they try and do it as tasteful as they can. And I think this, again, brings us back to what we were talking about on our first show when we were talking about South Park, their very first episode after the attack on 9/11, where they had all the kids dressed up in gas masks. It's sort of a relief from the action, from reality.
Right.
It's something to distance yourself and to finally say, hey, that's kind of funny in a world where nothing is going right.
So because of the fact that no real people get hurt, it's a comic relief.
I think so.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I think we're going to get off of this doom and gloom topic for today. We've spent enough time on it. We'll head to a commercial break. On the other side, we're going to pick up with a little bit of a rant that I've got, and we've got some much more lighthearted.
I have one more question to pose.
Go ahead. Go right ahead.
Why does it take a tragedy to bring us together?
Well, I think because in times of peace and normality, it's overlooking. You take for granted peace and normality until problems arise. You're fine on your daily basis until something bad happens.
I think that's one of the biggest problems in the world today.
Well, you're not going to fix it.
No one's going to fix it.
Nobody's going to fix it. It's not a quick fix. But let's head to a commercial break. On the other side, we'll get to my rant. We'll get to some more lighthearted topics. And maybe we'll break down, get into more detail of a topic we kind of touched on last week. We'll get to more of an in-depth breakdown of that topic. But stay tuned right here on Baron Banter. Welcome back into Baron Banter. Tyler Zulli alongside my brother Brandon Zulli for this week's edition. Just the two of us this week. We'll likely be back to a three-man crew next week, whether it be Chris, whether it be Devin. Somebody will be back in here on Easy Mode Earls. You can find us on YouTube. If you just search Easy Mode Earls, you'll find us. We are probably the top search, I think, at this point.
Oh, yes.
But based on the amount of videos. You can also find us on Twitter at Easy Mode Earls. Tweet at us. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. If you ever have any ideas for a show that you want us to talk about and get it on next week's podcast, we'd be happy to take your comments, your concerns, your whatever you'd like to say. Send us a shout out. We will answer you. We promise. Brandon's got full control of that Twitter, so I can't promise you it'll be perfect grammar, but it will be written.
It will be funny.
So we're gonna get into a new topic now. We're gonna take things a little more lighthearted, and I'm gonna get a little bit angry. That's how we start every rant. That's how it's gone the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to get a little bit angry on this next one. Now, this next rant goes... I have to send this out to a couple of my friends because I have to rant at them. Because Sunday night, we all got together. You were there as well.
I was.
Had a barbecue. We made some burgers, some dogs. Played some washers, had a catch with the baseball, all around. Drop kicked a duck. If you don't know what we're talking about, just why don't you go out and shoot a tweet to at WIBBLE215. He'll explain to you what drop kicking the duck was.
Try and put your best guess.
Yeah, why don't you send him a guess and see what it says? We'll shoot him a text and let him know that you're going to tweet at him. We had this barbecue and it was a good time and everything. And inside, we were watching college softball. It's games to go to the College Softball World Series. And I'm watching the games, and I have interest in these games because I enjoy the game of softball. Obviously, my girlfriend Bridget has interest in these games. She just finished up her collegiate playing career at Binghamton University. So she has interest in these games. But, people start to come in as it gets dark and gets a little cooler out. And they turn softball off on me to put on baseball, which, me, I love baseball. Had it have been the Phillies game, I'd have had no problem. But they put on the Mets and the Pirates.
Two of your least favorite
I have
teams.
no interest in this game whatsoever compared to the interest I have in the softball games, with teams fighting for a chance to go to the College Softball World Series. So my question to you is, and I know you're not a big sports guy and an athlete, but why do guys sit here and go, well, why are you watching softball? That's dumb. Softball's not as entertaining, as baseball. Why not we'll just watch baseball? Because here's my follow-up question is, they always give me crap. Why are you watching softball?
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Softball's fun.
I think they ask that kind of question because whenever you think of softball, you think of girls playing softball. or
Well,
old,
yeah.
or old men.
Right,
So,
but
so it's not as manly. It's not as beat your chest kind of. It's not like a intense sport. It's more of a low key, slower paced kind of game.
have you watched college softball?
I've not. That's just what I think they're thinking.
Because
and I don't watch I don't watch sports.
college softball is faster paced than baseball. The bases are smaller. The mound is closer. Everything happens like that. Bang, bang on everything. So for anybody to sit there and say, oh, well, the game's not as enjoyable. It's not as fun to watch as baseball. You're just saying that as a man wanting to watch a man's sport.
Think of it like this as well. What gets more coverage?
Well, of course the MLB does. It's a professional league.
Baseball. What kind of teams do you know more about?
Personally, baseball, because I'm a baseball guy.
There you go. People know more about baseball than they do about softball, so they're obviously going to be more interested in any kind of baseball rather than an important softball.
I understand where you're coming from, but it perturbs me to sit here and say, for somebody to tell me, oh, we're going to put the Mets-Pirates game on. Why? Oh, because I have a bet on it. This is one of the most important college softball games of the year. It's a chance to punch their ticket to the College World Series. And you're going to say because you put some money down on it? And listen, these are my best friends in the world. My best friends in the world were at this. Minus Chris, every single one of my best friends was there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sitting here and saying, guys, you have to change your mind and watch softball with me. I'm not asking for that. I'm just looking for a little bit of an answer as to why softball gets turned off because it's softball.
Well, think of it this way. It's a lesser covered, lesser known sport. What gets more covered? NFL or a soul game?
Well, of course the NFL.
Now, wasn't one of your friends a big soul fan?
Yes.
If you turned off the soul game would you turn off a soul game for an NFL game?
Well, it depends on what game.
Doesn't matter. Do you think he would have had the same problem you have for softball?
If it's a random game, I might not because and I have a tie to the Philadelphia team. If you were to say, we turned off an arena game for an NFL game, I think that's different. Because you're putting them on comparing levels. Softball with teams that I don't really have an affiliation with, baseball with teams I don't have an affiliation with, but the softball game is more important. It's a bigger stakes game than Game 50 of a Major League Baseball season with teams that don't even play in the same division.
True, but I think
you're comparing apples and oranges here.
It could be, but it's just the way men think. It's a woman's sport, so they don't take it as seriously.
Well, and here,
same thing what happens with the WNBA and the NBA.
But
what do you watch more of?
The WNBA and the NBA are different, I think, than softball and baseball because the WNBA has a mantra around it of being less entertaining. Because when you think of the NBA, what's the most entertaining parts of the game? Dunks and big blocks and big guys going at it. You don't get any of that in the WNBA. What's the most entertaining part of a baseball game?
Home run.
Home runs. Is a home run a home run a home run in softball and baseball? What's the difference?
I can't tell you, my friend.
There is no difference. Right. That's the difference between what you're saying comparing the WNBA and the NBA to softball and baseball. At the collegiate level versus major league level, because there is a professional softball league, but the most important softball, in my opinion, is the collegiate game. So, you take it back. The dunk is not there in the WNBA. Not many of those women throw down like LeBron James does, like Kobe used to. Mm-hmm. So that's why the entertaining factor is not there in the WNBA, and that's a different comparison, I think, than to saying, oh, well, he hit a home run and she hit a home run. What the hell's the difference?
Another thing I would like to point out is actually you actually said something that got me thinking. you had just mentioned two people in the NBA. Now think of it this way. When you were at the party, you were talking about this girl who threw a Jesus game.
As we like to call it, a Jesus game.
27 up, 27 down.
Well, 21 innings.
21
they play
up,
7 innings. But
20,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
You only called her this girl. You didn't know her name.
Well, she was a high school player.
But think of it this way. Say a Major League Baseball player threw a Jesus game. You would have known his name, his birthday, everything about him. Because they are stars compared to the college girls. They are superstars.
Well, it's because they're getting paid and they're getting publicized, like
Exactly.
you said. But that's not what I'm getting at. I understand that most guys know MLB more than they know collegiate softball. I get that. What I'm trying to get at is when somebody tells me, why are you watching softball, it's boring.
It's not.
It's
I've
not.
seen you watch softball.
It's not boring.
No.
And this has nothing to do with my now longtime girlfriend being a softball player herself.
I feel like that has part of the problem.
It has nothing to do with it. I watched softball before Bridget and I knew each other.
You did?
I did. I've always thought it's an interesting game. Now, if you were to say, hey, the Phillies are on or college softball's on, I'm going to take the Phillies because I have an affiliation to it. Mm-hmm. But Mets Pirates in college softball.
Think of it this way. What's the difference between, you said you had an affiliation with the Phillies, worthless Phillies game or college championship? Again, you put them on the pedestal. How much does the affiliation with the Phillies rise it up?
Right. That's a good question. And I think it depends on how, and again, it depends on how good the Phillies are in the time.
Can we hit?
Right now, I'm probably putting the softball game on. If the Phillies were good, I'd put the Phillies game on. It's all about that affiliation factor. How much does it rise it? Mm-hmm. But for, and if you were to say, hey, I really want to watch this baseball game, I've got money on it. Okay, fine. But for you to say, hey, we're going to put the baseball game on, softball's boring or softball's stupid, you're out of your mind. And that's how I'm going to end it. So we'll head to another commercial break. On the other side, we've got a couple of interesting topics we're going to get to. They're a little bit lighter, a little bit more off the cuff, if you could say. So we'll get to those topics and more right here. This is Banter on YouTube and on Twitter. We're back here live on Banter. Tyler Zulli, my brother Brandon Zulli here for episode 3. I can't believe we're already 3 episodes in. It's
3 weeks in.
Feels like we just had this idea that we might try this podcast, and now we're 3 episodes in. I hope people are enjoying what we're putting out here each week. Every Friday we'll put out a new episode, a new podcast episode. We'll have a rotating crew of people, but 99% of the time it'll be at least Brandon and I. So let's get to this next topic here, our third segment of the day. Something that we kind of discussed a little bit while we were on break, but the Powerball is up to $330 million. And every once in a while you start to get these Powerball numbers that spike, more than the average 45, 50, 60, 70 million dollars. They start getting into the hundreds of millions of dollars, and that's when it really starts perking people's interest. The jackpots go up very, very quickly because more people are buying tickets. So it's up to $330 million, $209 million if you take the cash option, which basically says in 30 to 60 days, we are going to write you a check for $209 million. What do you do with that kind of money? And I think that's the question we're going to pose for this one here is, well, let me get a couple of things that you would do, but first let's talk about what's the first thing you do with $209 million?
The very first thing I would do? Probably, I don't know. I'd probably go to Disney World. Straight off.
Right away?
Straight off.
How long are you going for?
7 days.
More than that. Come on.
To start.
Going like 10 or 12 days.
Well, you got to pay for other people as well.
Who's other people?
Family, friends.
How many people are you taking?
Well, there's me, you, Mom, Dad. Well, that would be a bad combination.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Me, you, Beth, The other Caldwells, if they can. My friends.
So you're just bringing a ton of people.
Would be nice.
Oh, see, I'm not doing that.
Or actually,
Multiple vacations?
Instead of bringing a bunch of people, me and you in the Cinderella room.
What are you trying to say? You're taking me on a date?
No, because that's the most expensive room.
Ah, I understand now. So the first thing you're doing is going to Disney World.
No, probably, but that's the first thing that came to mind.
Okay. So the first thing that I'm doing, it's pretty economical. It's not anything crazy. I'm paying my student loans off. Mm-hmm. I'm also paying my girlfriend's student loans off. Mm-hmm. So that we can start fresh, once we start our lives together. Mm-hmm. So, you have your economically safe buy. You pay your student loans or you pay your mortgage or whatever. Then you kind of start divvying it up. You say, I'm going to use this much to spend and this much to save. And you have to put a lot away to save. But, however, let's say you decide
209 is a lot of
$209 million is a lot of money. So let's say you even decide I'm going to spend $10 million.
Yeah.
$10 million is a lot of freaking money. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. What are you doing with $10 million in total?
Never working again.
Well, obviously you're not working. Well, so you're not going to work at all. You wouldn't do anything.
No, I would end up working. Honestly, with $10 million, I would like to go to school for two things. Art school and culinary school.
Okay. Because
I've always loved cooking. And even with art, I got 3 books over here on how to draw. And I've spent 2 hours every day trying to get better. So I'm definitely spending some money on that. Because if I can get a career in that, I could get a career in video game design.
Well, and the thing is, you can do that with no regrets and no remorse and no financial problems later. You would just say, Art Institute of whatever, here's a check.
Here you go.
Here's my tuition. It's paid in full.
Sir, this says $200,000.
Yeah, it's paid in full. Here you go.
Yeah, here you go.
It'll clear. So you can do things like that. What is your maybe a little bit more outlandish buy? Something you would never, ever, ever get if you didn't win the lottery.
The car from Supernatural.
Really?
I like that car.
Now, you and Dad are going to have to fight over that, right?
Yeah, that's my car if I win the fucking lottery.
Fair enough.
I apologize for cursing.
See, car-wise, I'm getting myself 2 cars. Because I'm getting one that I can tout around and showboat, and I'm getting one for my everyday driving. Mm-hmm. So the one that I'm getting for my everyday driving, it's going to be a nicer car. But it's not going to be, your expensive sports car because I don't want to take that around on a daily basis. So I'm going to get something that's nicer, but it's also going to be something that isn't going to, if somebody were to break into it, I'm not out $100,000.
Yeah.
Then my expensive car, I'm going to get myself a 1969 GT 500 in a silver chrome color combination, and that's the car that I'm picking up. So that's my little bit more expensive car. But I think after that, what I would want to do, kind of like you mentioned, there's multiple vacations that I would want to take in order to, go on different vacations.
You want to...
What?
One I said.
Well, there's multiple vacations that I would take in order to go with different people. You and I had a great time in Disney World the last time you and I went. So I think we'd go back.
Oh, yeah.
Then I would go somewhere with just me and Bridget.
Yeah.
Like a couples type deal. Then, I'd like to take me and Mom on vacation. And then, of course, I've got to go me and Dad. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll do a couple ballparks and, tour the California sweep or something like that. So there are multiple vacations that I would like to do. But I think I have to spread them out. Because I don't know if I'd want a vacation 4 weeks in a row.
Oh, of course.
I feel like I'd just be dead tired by the end.
Here's something I'd like to do with that amount of money. I'd like to get a spot in Hell's Kitchen.
As in, be a cook?
No, that you can't buy your way onto that. You have to pay. The food in Hell's Kitchen is free. You have to pay for the seat.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm getting the closest to the kitchen that I can.
Right.
And I'm gonna watch Chef Ramsay go to town.
What's a seat in Hell's Kitchen cost you?
That is an excellent question. I'm gonna look up how much it'll cost.
So while you're doing that, you want to be near Gordon Ramsay and with his chefs. Are you willing to spend thousands of dollars for food that might not come out the way you want it? You know what I mean?
That's a good question. But then again, I mean, someone like me, I'm a big fanboy for a few certain select people. And Gordon Ramsay is one of them. Just being around there will make my day. It doesn't exactly say how much it'll cost.
How to eat at Hell's Kitchen. Apparently shake somebody's hand.
Yeah.
That's how you get into Hell's Kitchen, ladies and gentlemen. You have to shake the right person's hand.
Now, would there be something outlandish that you would do?
Well, what, other than the cars?
Yes.
That's a good question. I think I would probably, like I said, I'd take a tour of all the baseball stadiums. I'd like to just get into every one and say I've been to every stadium. But other than that, honestly, no, I don't think there's anything crazy. I'd probably hire, a personal nutritionist and a personal trainer to get me in the best shape I possibly could be in.
Knowing you, you'd buy a lifetime supply of protein.
Lifetime supply of the best protein I can find. That is for sure. Just to see how good of shape I actually can get in with the right training and the right chefs and cooking and things like that. I would definitely give that a shot. But I don't know if I can imagine or wrap my head around having $209 million cash and what to do with it. I would be.
Now, here's
it's
the thing.
so
what happens
hard.
to the money when you die?
Say what now?
Well, who are you giving it to?
Well, it gets spread out.
Because isn't it only a certain amount of money you can give to each person without them getting taxes taken out of it?
Not in a will, no.
No?
Not in a will, no. It's if you give it as a gift.
Ah.
That's the difference. But yeah, so I think that there's only so many things that I would have in mind that I could imagine to do. I don't know if I would be able to spend $209 million.
No. In one lifetime?
In one life, it's almost impossible to do unless you just completely lavishly give your money away and spend it on everything you can think of.
That's another extravagant thing I'd try and do.
What's that?
I'd find the first homeless person I could find and take him to a 5-star restaurant.
Why?
Why not? You got the money.
Yeah, but what is he gonna do? You're not helping that guy at all. You're giving him a meal, and so that's a lot of money. You just went from giving a guy a meal to buying him a house.
I got the money.
How's he gonna pay for the house? The electricity and the cable and the water. How's he gonna pay for all that?
I'll pay for it.
You're forever.
Yes.
You're just basically housing somebody for free.
Yes.
That's stupid. He's just gonna do drugs in there or something.
That's fine with me.
Okay, whatever works for you.
You said extravagant thing.
All right, fair enough. Whatever works for you. If it makes you happy, it makes you happy. Can you find this answer, or are we going to head to break?
We're going to head to break because there is no answer, apparently.
All right, so we'll head to break. On the other side, we're going to touch on something we got a little bit off topic on last week, but we didn't really get to touch on it too much. It focuses on one of our favorite places to go in the world. We've already talked about it. You'll hear it on the other side. This is Baron Banter. Back here for the final segment of Baron Banter, Tyler and Brandon Zulli sitting in our luxurious basement studios with one mic and one laptop. I mean, 4 surround sound mics and a beautiful producing system.
We've already described this as the $5 productions, my friend.
This is true. It's a little more than $5. Your laptop costs you a little more than that.
All right, so the laptop and then the TV tray. That's basically
the TV tray
that's basically
that we have our
what
microphones situated on. All right, so final segment here for this Baron Banter Episode 3 edition. We talked about it a little bit last week with Chris. We want to dive into a little bit more specifics this week. Last week we talked about Star Wars and how Disney World and Disneyland is really embracing the Star Wars culture and making it a phenomenon, putting full lands in of Star Wars land, making all these shows and adapting the rides and whatnot. And we said it may be a good thing for the immediate success of Disney World, but will it be sustainable? I kind of want to put that across the board now. Basically, you and I say this all the time. Disney runs everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because ESPN is owned by ABC. ABC is owned by Disney. Disney owns everything. Disney now owns Marvel. Disney owns Star Wars, like we talked about.
Lucasfilms.
Disney owns Lucasfilms. Disney owns everything. And
that one restaurant in I believe it's MGM where they have all the shows that they own around the
the commissary.
The commissary.
So
it's everything.
Disney owns everything, and with Disney owning everything, they kind of have a plethora of options. Excuse me, man. I've got such bad indigestion today.
I feel you.
They have a plethora of options to put rides in, put shows in, put themed restaurants in, all this lands in if they want to. And they're starting to kind of adapt to the newness of the times. You know, we mentioned the Star Wars land. Out in Disneyland, they shut down the Tower of Terror, which is an iconic ride for a similarly designed ride, but with a Guardians of the Galaxy theme.
And we've seen this ride, and it looks
It's
horrible.
garbage.
It
It's
looks
absolutely garbage.
terrible.
So my question to you is, Brandon, is Disney doing too much in this direction to adapt to the times and say, well, now we own Marvel, so we're going to put Marvel rides in. Now we own Lucasfilms and Star Wars, we're going to put Star Wars rides in. You know, we're going to adapt to our movies and our TV shows instead of sticking with the old theme of what worked.
Absolutely. And I think before they had a good way of doing it. Like one year, be the same stuff. Another year, they'd add something little. Another year, they'd take something away and replace it. But it wasn't anything grand. And if there was something grand, I don't remember it always being met with the best reception. Like, even, what was it, Imagination Land or something? The new addition to, in Magic Kingdom?
Oh, Fantasyland.
Fantasyland, the new addition to Fantasyland. Even that, you didn't even hear too much about it. It was kind of downplayed, and it's real small.
Well, and it's loved, though.
It is.
It's beautifully themed. The buildings are well put together. There's a fantastic restaurant.
Be our guest.
You can say what you want about the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train ride not being a thrill ride or having
terrible.
too long of a wait or not being what everybody claimed it to be. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a kid's ride, and it's a more fast-paced kid's ride. And that's exactly what they bill it as. And that's why it has a 2-hour wait every single day, because there's a ton of kids that want to get on it because it's their
newest thing.
Yeah, it's the newest thing. Maybe it's their first introduction to a roller coaster. So, you know, I understand the theming of it, but it's a thematic ride based on a movie that was made in the 40s.
Now, as I was saying.
And that was Disney's forte up until recently.
As I was saying, it was all small and downplayed. There wasn't much talked about it, at least that I know of. And then they have Star Wars Land, which is going to be, like we said last time, a bit of what was it, half of the park, I believe, and it's just going to take up this huge section, and it's been done. It's going to take so long, and it's just.
It started construction in 2015. It's not going to be done until 2019, I believe.
Exactly, it's a giant thing, and I don't know if that's a great thing because Disney.
Excuse me.
Disney is a place for kids who don't always have the biggest attention span.
Right.
So they're going to see the sign, oh, Star Wars Land. Oh, it's going to be amazing. 2 years later, when they finally get back, they're like, oh, that's cool. It's Star Wars.
Well, and what's the difference, my question, what's the difference between this Star Wars ride being put in, you know, whatever they put in Star Wars Land, the new ride, whatever it's going to be, there's probably 1 or 2 new rides getting put in. What's the difference between the longevity and the memory making of this new ride versus when they put Rock and Roller Coaster in, you know, back in the late 90s? Because you and I look at Rock and Roller Coaster and go, that's a staple of our childhood. Mm-hmm. Why, you know, somebody that's going to be our age, you know,
probably going to say the same thing
about the Star Wars ride. What's the difference? Why does it feel to a lot of Disney goers that Rock and Roller Coaster was an accepted ride that is loved by a lot of people, and this Star Wars Land's like, oh, well, you know, grumble, grumble, grumble. It's not Disney.
Well, a lot of people like talking about this online are adults who have the same feeling as us, because Disney is also the land of nostalgia. It's right. Where you remember all the good shit you did before in your childhood.
Disney's done this since it's been opened. in the beginning, there was a ride for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. There was all of this stuff. Right, so 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is not there anymore, and people our parents' age go, I remember the good old days back when 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was there. And then you and I, when we get to be their age, are probably going to go, I remember the good old days back when Space Mountain was there. Or, whatever it is.
Because
Disney adapts to the times. When they make a new movie, they put a new ride in.
I'm waiting for Nemo to become Moana.
Right, whatever it is. You and I sit there and go, oh, well, they took away the Maelstrom, which we loved in Norway, and they put in a Frozen ride. Does it affect us as ride goers? Sure. But when you look at it,
more people.
When you look at it, which ride was bringing in more people? The Maelstrom, which was kind of a dark and scary ride, at some points of it.
Which is why it was cool.
Which is why it was cool to us. Or Frozen, which says, come on in and bring all your kids.
Once again, it's not a place. It's not technically a place for us. It's a place for new children to come, to get their parents to come. It's all made for the kids, and not just for Nostalgia Land,
right?
Which should be a land that they make in Disney now.
So, are we supposed to be able to have a gripe with this? Why do we sit here and say Star Wars Land doesn't make any sense? Avatar Land doesn't make any sense. But you notice the one land that's being built that you and I haven't had a problem with? Toy Story Land.
Yeah.
You know why? Because it's a nostalgia factor.
We love Toy Story
Why?
When we were kids.
Why are we allowed to pick and choose?
Like I said, it's all just based on memories, like what we had when we were children. Like, think of it this way, talking about a Disney movie. When did Finding Nemo come out? 2003.
Right.
When the trailer was finally released, last year for Finding Dory?
2 years ago.
What was your response?
I saw Finding Dory in the theaters.
You had told me that you would push little kids out of the way and say, no.
This is my movie.
This is our movie. We waited,
15 almost 15 years for this movie.
15 years for this shit. So, what makes it that compared to the world where it's just all based on nostalgia, memories from childhood, and what you personally like? Because they're not going to go with what the Zulli brothers think.
Well, of course, they don't care what we think, as long as we spend our money every couple of years, and
we're going to. We're always gonna come back. And when it's built in 2019, and we're taking our kids to Disney World in 2032,
I'm gonna go Star Wars Land.
We're gonna go to Star Wars Land, and if they take Star Wars Land out, we're gonna be like, well, why are they taking Star Wars Land out? Why are they going for Gleep Glop the jellyfish?
That sounds like a great movie. Let's make Gleep Glop the jellyfish.
Why are they changing it to Gleep Glop?
Ladies and gentlemen, patented. For 2 weeks in a row, we've patented a thing. Gleep Glop the jellyfish is coming to town. In theaters 2020.
Like, what's gonna it's just, I think it's time. That's what changes it. Because in 2032, when we go, we're gonna be pissed that they're taking out Star Wars Land because it's no longer as big a thing as it is now.
Right.
And now we're pissed that they're putting in Star Wars Land because it's taking away something that we loved when we were children. All it takes is time.
Star Wars Land isn't taking anything out.
Is it? I thought it was taking out like half a section of MGM.
Right, but it's all things that were already gone. It was
Well, no, things that were gone, like the Lights, Motors, Action. That was only gone for a year, I believe, when we went.
Right, but what's the difference?
That's a good question. I mean, but again, we still loved it.
I didn't like that show.
You didn't?
No.
Well, then.
I thought it was repetitive and boring.
I think you need to go out.
I enjoyed it the first time. Not the 75th time I've tried to see it. Wait in line to go watch a show that's the same thing over and over again.
And there puts in another problem. Which ones stay because of nostalgia?
Well, you're right.
Which ones stay because which ones go because they need the space, or which ones go because no one's seeing them anymore?
Why does Country Bear Jamboree outlast everything? It's been the same exact show for 40 years.
Why is it still entertaining?
That's the question that's the question that everybody had. And if we had these answers, we'd probably be working with Michael Eisner right now and not sitting in our basement.
That'd be a great job.
That'd be a great job.
Wouldn't it be a great job to work with Michael Eisner in our basement?
Ooh, if we could Skype him and work here.
Yo, Michael.
What's up, buddy? How you doing today? All right, here's our ideas for Disney 2030.
We keep it the same.
We keep it exactly the same.
Oh, here's another idea. Change Great Movie Ride, final movie, back to the way it was.
And get rid of the Stitch ride. Immediately.
Yes.
It's the worst ride ever.
That, I believe, was the one ride we both said no to.
Yeah, we just decided not to go on it. And we went on in like almost every. We went on the train. The people mover.
We went on Winnie the Pooh, for God's sake.
We waited in line for a while for.
We waited 45 minutes for Winnie the Pooh.
We did.
The only other ride we didn't go on is Dumbo and Peter Pan because both of them were 3 hours.
I would have loved to have gone on Peter Pan. I love that ride.
I was not waiting 3 hours.
No, I completely
for Peter
agree.
Pan.
I understand. But you got any final thoughts on this before we wrap it up?
Please put the Great Movie Ride movie back to the way it was.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Because it was perfect. I have it on my liked playlist on YouTube. The new one sucks.
I don't think you're gonna get it. You're not gonna get it back. I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen.
We went on that ride because it was my favorite ride in MGM.